Oh God, please start a band. That'd be amazing.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the Sonic Blender on CILU Radio 102.7 FM. That was Forest Lawn by Terra from the Couldn't Save This EP that was released in June of 2015. Terra is based out of Medicine Hat in southern Alberta. They're heading out on tour, going east to Montreal this May and June. Check out their Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Terra Band page. That's TERRA for dates and venue information if you're going to be in Thunder Bay, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Guelph, London, Sudbury, Regina, Saskatoon, Edmonton, and places in between. I had a chance to chat with Chris Kessler about the band, his ideal number of songs on a recording, the upcoming tour, and what he really wants to know about his bandmates. Stick around. Tell me a little bit about your band's origin. How long have you guys been playing together?
Well, been playing together now for coming on like two and a half years or something like that. It's been a long time, kind of off and on actually. Brandon, the bass player, I've known him since about high school, I guess. Didn't really know much of him, but I knew he was a pretty good bass player. So I was living in Edmonton for a while, and when I moved back to Medicine Hat, I needed something to do and kind of wanted to start a band. So we started playing together a little bit, and it kind of took all sorts of different forms until it arrived at sort of an early version of what we are now. I'd say we've had some sort of evolutions, and I'm sure it'll just continue to be like that, throughout however long we choose to keep the band alive, I guess.
Yeah, and you and Brandon are like the primary, like the two stable members.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
For sure. Brandon, yeah, me and Brandon are probably the only two that have actually been around since the beginning. We started off as a three-piece. The record was actually recorded as a three-piece with a little bit of overdubbed synth. But yeah, no, definitely. Brandon and I are the first two members. Still doing it. Brandon lives in Lethbridge though. He's got a whole bunch of other projects on the go right now. He's in two other bands. One's called Wint and one's called Masks. And so he's pretty busy, but I don't know. Probably keep doing it for as long as we can, I think.
Now your band sound kind of seems equal parts like British rock. Reminds me a lot of Interpol, some 80s new wave, and a very specific band from Vancouver I can think of. Can you tell me a bit about how your sound came to be?
Well, I guess I always just kind of liked the 80s sort of new wave stuff. When I was a young kid, my dad showed me this movie called Urgh, A Musical War, and I was pretty young at that time, probably like 12 or 13 or something like that, and I just really loved the music and kind of have liked it ever since, and I suppose just kind of worked with what we were trying to do at the time, and it was good. We didn't want to be too dissonant, I guess. It kind of comes from more of a pop background, I guess.
No, I can hear that in some of the hooks and just the sound. Like it's got a really cool sound. Like I really dig that about the record. It's unique. Like there's a lot of things that are reminiscent of other things, but it's enough of a mosaic, kind of taking from a bunch of different influences that you can kind of hear that it doesn't sound like a copy of anything kind of specifically.
Like I definitely wrote it with pop in mind, and definitely those hooks and stuff like that. There's some kind of familiar sound in there, so people don't get scared away too quickly, because I know people that hear the words like post-punk and they listen to it and they're like, oh, what the hell, like, I just can't get into this or whatever, right? So I just kind of wanted to be a bit more sort of, I guess I'll just use the word poppy again. It is kind of like Interpol, I guess, the same principle in some ways, even though I think Interpol is probably more dissonant, to be honest. When I was younger and I wrote I Fold, it's an anti-work song, pretty well just based around how much I hated my job at the time, and how much I thought I was just kind of stuck in this position where I had no say in really what was happening, hence the title I Fold.
What other kind of areas of life do you draw inspiration from in your songwriting?
It's a pretty big mental health sort of connotation there, I'd say. And yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest ones, honestly. A lot of songs kind of revolve around that, I suppose. And yeah, work and relationships and life and sadness and some happiness. It's all kind of all over the map, I suppose. And maybe it doesn't show so much on our EP, but hopefully it will on our next release.
And you're planning on having a full length for later on this year? Is that what I read?
Yeah, I think a full length, or maybe just like a kind of like a 5-songer, 6 songs or something like that. I kind of started to realize, like, I personally just don't even like listening to full length albums all the way through. I'm like a total like 5 songs. That's good enough. Keeps me focused. Sort of keeps me wanting more. So maybe I'll just like take my own like advice or whatever you want to call it, and go for another 5 song, something maybe a little bit longer than the first.
No, that's interesting. I'm such an album guy. It's only like in moments of indecision will I throw something on like on a shuffle. Like when I'm like, I feel like listening to music, but I cannot figure out what, I'll throw whatever's on my entire phone on just shuffle. We'll find out what happens. But I kind of hear what you're saying. By the end of 5-6 songs, a lot of the time, like there better be by track 8 or 9 like a real kicker to get my interest back.
Yeah, exactly. And like I just choose to like most of the time just cut all the filler and just try to keep every song really unique in its own way and memorable. I don't know. That's just my take on things, but.
Now, is that, do you think that's like a product of kind of the way we're going technologically, where things are a little more song at a time almost focused rather than album to album?
Yeah, I don't know. Definitely, I'd say like singles and EPs are pretty popular nowadays. I mean, with people trying to drum up as much press as possible and stuff too. It makes a lot of sense just to release singles and premiere them, through whoever, Exclaim or whatever the hell, and just do it that way, right? Because it's like you're getting this constant feed of like coverage, and yeah, so I can understand why people do that, and I've definitely like thought about it myself.
Honestly, you're the first band that I've ever heard of from Medicine Hat. What's the Medicine Hat music scene like?
Well, it's an interesting place. Like, we got a lot of touring groups coming through here. There's a promotion agency called Bandwagon Bookings that's ran by a girl named Des. She brings a whole bunch of touring acts through, but we constantly never really have enough local acts to kind of like support them. So it's a little bit strange for sure. Like, I'll give the example. We had who do we have coming through here? Marlena Moore and Wares from Edmonton, and they were gonna stick like a kind of like a hardcore punk band like with them, and it was it's just kind of these weird sort of combinations of shows that are put on just because there's no other option really. I'm pretty thankful for what we got here. Like on top of that, and we had a couple of good bands actually, like Originate in Medicine Hat. Some people don't know that like Freak Heat Waves and stuff originated in Medicine Hat here. A couple other interesting groups that have kind of since moved elsewhere actually.
How do you describe your current band dynamic?
Well, a working band, I would say. Kind of like just like some players that can play well together, and they get together and it's good. But we just don't see each other like too much outside that right now. But as soon as we get on tour and we're all stuck in a band together, I'm sure, all that camaraderie will kind of be redeveloped, I suppose.
This is is this your first tour?
This is our second tour as a band, like big tour, I guess you could say. We toured the West Coast out to this festival called Shakerama. It's a festival that the record label Shake Records puts on in Vancouver and Victoria and Nanaimo. And it was pretty good. Definitely love West Coast. It was a great place. But we just thought, why not try East? It'd be a little bit more urban, I suppose, and appeal to some different crowds.
Yeah, for sure. Where's your destination? You're heading east, but not quite as far as the East Coast, yeah?
Yeah, not quite as far as the East Coast. Just out to Montreal and back. Altogether, it's 15 shows, so it'll be pretty packed in those couple weeks there.
Nice. Yeah, and you've got some, I saw your list of venues there. You got some pretty good gigs lined up at the Horseshoe and a couple other spots like into Montreal. It's really nice. Yeah, we got booked at the Horseshoe, partly because I think that the girl that was going to be singing with us, Hope, a real nice girl, feel just terrible about what I did there. She basically knew some people from July Talk, I guess, and through that we got the gig at Horseshoe. So yeah, thanks, Hope. What kind of tricks do you have? Do you have any strategies to stay sane on the road, stuck in a car for 8 hours, 12 hours at a time?
I don't know. I think it's just like it's all about the journey when it comes to touring, because and if you can't find something to enjoy about the journey, whether it be the sights or like the conversation or any of that, then you're pretty well fucked, because when you get to a city, you're just waiting around doing nothing, and that's probably the hardest of it all, really. So, no, I don't know. I think that the journey is probably the best part of it, actually. So,
I got one last question for you, and I'm not going to take any credit for it. This comes from Chuck Klosterman. I don't know if you know Klosterman, I think. So this is from Mr. Klosterman. Someone builds a paranormal honesty room. And within the walls of the room, it's impossible for anyone to tell lies, or for someone to avoid answering whatever questions are asked. The same inventor also creates a memory loss drug that's released into the air inside the honesty room as an airborne mist. What that means is that people who enter the honesty room won't remember what's said, what questions they were asked, or even that they were even there. The only antidote to the memory loss drug is a pill, and you have that pill. So in essence, you have access to a room where every guest who enters will tell you the absolute truth about anything, and then immediately forget what they were asked and what they said, but you'll retain everything you learn. So you're inside the honesty room with your parents. What do you ask them?
With my parents? Oh my God, what would I ask them? How come you didn't put me in piano lessons, Dad?
What did he put you in instead?
Oh, guitar.
Oh, guitar? Well, you would have preferred to learn piano?
I don't know, man. Sometimes I see these like little piano players that can just shred, and I just think, what the hell am I doing with my guitar here? I could like I'm like plucking 3 notes at a time in my rock and roll band, and then there's these like 12-year-old piano player whizzes that can just like shred. It makes a person feel like, okay, maybe I didn't take the right path musically.
Guess this depends on what you want from life. My follow-up question is, if you're in the inside the honesty room with your bandmates, what do you ask them?
Do you enjoy this? Are you enjoying this right now? Are you enjoying this experience? Yeah, you probably want to know that. That's a tough one to get. Sometimes you just don't know. Like, is everyone actually having fun? Or is it just out of obligation? Or is it just, like, what is it really? When everyone's, living in different cities, I don't know. We'll find out after the tour. See what happens.
Yeah, right. That is definitely a challenge with putting together a band where everyone's got the same motivation or the same kind of goals, right? Like, there's so many times that you've been in a band for a while, and then just someone like, I'm just not feeling it anymore, and they just didn't have the same passion for that project or willingness to see it through, eh?
Yeah, and it's totally understandable. I think that's where people are kind of headed at this point, to be honest. I think it's like, we all kind of want to perhaps, like, do our own thing for a while, if not forever, but we got another album to record here and release, and I'll be releasing things under the same name probably for as long as I can. So, yeah. Caught in the hollow, but there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I can see it standing there, solo, casting a shadow towards me. 'Cause I'm haunted.
So there you have it. Throughout the interview, you heard all the songs from the Couldn't Save This EP that Terra released last year. That was Couldn't Save This, the title track. Incurable Condition, I Fold, and Forest Lawn kicked off the interview for us. Check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/Terra Band page for more information about their tour, as well as a link to their Bandcamp page where you can give the EP another listen or throw them some cash for a copy of your very own.